Kansas and Missouri are among the areas expecting the worst of the storm, and by Sunday afternoon more than 10 inches to 25 centimeters of snow had already fallen in some areas. Winter weather forced the closure of all highways in the northeast of Kansas and the cancellation of thousands of flights from Kansas City Airport, just over the border in Missouri. Kansas City official Brian Platt described the storm as one of the most historic the city has ever seen. "We haven't seen more than 10 inches in 32 years, he said. A map showing the severity of the storm. Image source, National Weather Service. Image caption. Kansas City, on the border of Kansas and Missouri, is expecting blizzard conditions. A state of emergency declared for parts of New Jersey. Published at 1924. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy declared a state of emergency for several counties a little earlier this evening, citing the heavy snow, sleet, freezing rain, high wind gusts, and freezing temperatures about to hit. The measure allows the quick deployment of resources, the governor's office said, and will come into effect in less than 3 hours, 2200 hours local time, 3 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Counties covered by the declaration include Atlantic, Burlington, Camden, Cape May, Cumberland, Gloucester, and Salem. In the statement, Murphy reiterated warnings to avoid all travel. A state of emergency has also been declared in the states of Kansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, and Arkansas. The U.S. Capitol building is seen through security fencing on the National Mall ahead of the January 6 certification of the 2024 presidential election in Congress in Washington, D.C. on January 5, 2025. Officials confirmed that the certification of the presidential election results will take place despite the storm. The U.S. East Coast is now hunkering down for the storm. The snow hasn't started yet, but conditions are due to get a lot worse overnight. Other major cities on the East Coast of the United States, places like Baltimore up the coast from here, are also likely to be affected severely over the next 24 to 48 hours or so, he adds. The worst of the storm, though, is set to hit states like Kansas, and our correspondent says predictions for there are dire. There is talk of a whiteout in the Midwest, he says, with a combination of heavy snowfall and high winds creating conditions for blizzards. As we reported earlier, Washington, D.C. is set to host the certification of the presidential election results tomorrow. Officials have sworn it will go ahead regardless of the anticipated inclement weather. A resident of St. Charles, a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri, has described the exciting moment he heard thunder snow in his neighborhood this afternoon. Scott, who only wishes to give his first name, says, "The lightning was pretty big, thought the power flickered a couple of times. Booming thunder, slow rolling, house shaking, just like during a thunderstorm." Scott says he has around 8 inches of snow. "Pretty close to whiteout conditions," he adds. Zoo polar bears love it. Elephants do not so much. It isn't just humans seeking shelter from the storm. At Kansas City Zoo, harsh conditions have forced zookeepers to stay with their animal wards overnight. The weather in Missouri is pretty severe as he and the team make sure the animals have all they need to endure the cold. For the elephants and giraffes, this means staying in warm, heated shelters. But for those adapted to colder climates, Clausen says there's the chance for enrichment. The penguins and polar bears, he says, have been outside and enjoying the snow and feel at home in the wintry conditions. Clausen says he and his teams are ready to go with supplies at the zoo and intend to see the storm through with the animals. West Virginia declares state of emergency. Some 60 million Americans are under winter weather alerts. West Virginia has declared a state of emergency, joining 5 other states. Kentucky, Virginia, Kansas, Arkansas, and Missouri all declared their states of emergency. 30 U.S. states spanning from the middle of the country to the East Coast, including major cities like Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, are expected to see severe winter conditions. Forecasters say the extreme weather is being caused by the polar vortex, an area of cold air that circulates the Arctic. Some schools will be closed tomorrow. In some parts of the U.S. where snow has been falling, officials are preparing for conditions to worsen. By lunchtime local time, some schools had started to cancel Monday classes. In Kentucky, Indiana, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia, schools have already announced their closing. Flight delays continue to rise. All day we've been tracking how this winter storm is affecting travel, with airports accounting for much of the disruption. More than 5,000 flights within, into, or out of the U.S. have been delayed so far today, according to tracking website FlightAware. This is an increase of around 1,700 in 3 hours. Meanwhile, nearly 1,500 flights have been canceled. Snowfall records broken in parts of U.S., and it's still coming down strong. A snow-covered stretch limousine sits parked on January 5, 2025, in downtown Louisville, Kentucky. Records are being broken as snow continues to fall over large parts of the U.S. In Lexington, Kentucky, 12.7 centimeters, 5 inches, of snow was recorded as of 15:30 Eastern Standard Time, 20:30 Greenwich Mean Time, today. This breaks the previous daily snowfall record of 7 centimeters, 2.8 in, set in 1979, according to the Louisville branch of the National Weather Service, NWS. And as of 15:15 local time, 2015 Greenwich Mean Time, the city of Louisville in Kentucky had recorded 19.5 centimeters, 7.7 inches of snowfall. This far surpasses the previous record for January 5, 7.6 centimeters, 3 inches in 1910. Meanwhile, Topeka, Kansas has had 30 centimeters, 12 inches of snow, according to the NWS there, the fourth highest total snowfall recorded in a single day. The snow there, though, is still coming down strong. It adds. Kentucky State Police. Heed warnings and do not travel. The police car is crumpled on a highway after a crash. Along with many other states, a state of emergency has been declared in Kentucky, and police there have just shared a stark reminder as to why people are being urged not to travel today. In a post shared on social media, a police vehicle is shown entirely crumpled after a crash. The officer involved in the incident is receiving medical treatment with non-life-threatening injuries, the post says. This is why we are asking you to stay home and avoid travel. Please heed warnings and do not travel today.